ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way, you wasn't invited. Say you come to play, I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me, then step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way, yeah, yeah. Out of the way, yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Game now, me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way, you wasn't invited. Say you come to play, I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me, then step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way, yeah, yeah. Out of the way, yeah, yeah. Out of the way.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker, the future is feeling.
Live from virtual Lebanon, Tennessee, we welcome race fans one and all to the NASCAR Cup Series presented by the Precision Racing League, where we get set to go racing once again for race number 2 on this amazing Sunday night. Welcome to RaceSpotTV. My name is Ola Rampo with Terry Radford beside me in the commentary box. Together, we'll get set to bring you all the coverage here tonight from this 150-lap race around the 1.3-mile concrete beast. Terry, it's going to be one heck of a race for us here tonight as we get set to go racing after a banger of a season opener down to the Sonoma Raceway, but it's only one race before we go back to the right turn racing down to the Chicago Street Course for its first appearance in PRL.
Yeah, for a lot of those drivers that had a bad week last week, they need to turn their season around. They need to turn it around today because you talked about it. We are going to the Chicago Street Course, which is a new thing for the PRL. Most of these drivers just bought the track this week, especially because we're going to the street course on Wednesday night. Those guys in the trucks in the Xfinity Series, or in the Xfinity Series, they don't have the track. They just got it and did some laps. But right after the Chicago Street Course, we're going to touch 5 races that are not going to be road course, and then we're going to go 2 back-to-back to end our season. So if your season's going to kick off, the 1.33 miler here in Nashville needs to be the place to do it.
Nashville Super Speedway, a track that it's almost like Dover, but a little bit more. Passing is going to be difficult tonight. It's going to be a bottom lane heavy racetrack, and should mean we'll be in for a good race here tonight. At one where we could be seeing Trent Dinkle potentially caught and overtaken for that points lead by Admiral Acosta. Currently, Dinkle is sitting good 8 points up from that number 2 driver. Landon Mills rounds out the podium just 3 points off. Dinkle, of course, had one great season opener down to the Sonoma Raceway 1 week ago, and he's looking to see if he can't go for the repeat here in this one. And it's only 10 points from there, from second all the way back to 10th. But hey, still early, lots of time for these points to get themselves sorted.
Well, and I got a message from Landon Mills today that said, watch out for me. I'm going to be fast here. Had a good week in the sim for the Nashville and the Next Gen car. Would not be surprised to see Landon Mills come up here and make a point that he is a factor in here. Had a good week last week, finished in 3rd. I look to see him jump up there and contend and have the 3-horse race for the championship here in the PRL Cup Series. And, well, it's going to be fun to see who can dethrone Trent Dinkle.
We look to the team's championship, where private label team Hype Racing is currently up by 20 points over Love Racing. It's only 5 back, though, for the SGE Esports Pioneer crew, running down in that 3rd position to round up the team's championship so far. You look from 2nd through 4th, only 13 points separating these guys, and then, of course, 10 points separating 5th and 6th with the Entourage SGE Sports crew and Dirty South Racing as well. DSR, I'm surprised they're this far down the field here early, Terry. I mean, DSR usually one of those teams that we expect to see near towards the front end of this field. They're looking to see if they can't get that sorted here at Nashville here tonight.
Well, I mean, they had one driver that was right there ready to go. Other than that, it was pretty bad. But we got to thank the people that make the PRLs possible always. And Advanced Sim Racing is number 1. It's owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulated cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. With Racebox Sim Racing, they offer mid and high-end button boxes for the sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamers up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit RaceBoxSimRacing.com and get 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. And then the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with the Butt Kicker. Mechasim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for high-end pedal sets, hand brakes, or sequential shifters, visit Mechasim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed. And then Moradness. It's a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com.
With that, that's going to take us over into qualifying. Just got underway about 60 seconds ago. You're watching Dingle in that number 9 car, hightailing it up around the high banks of 3 and 4, across to the start-finish line to close out lap number 1. It'll be a 29.589 for the benchmark time at the Nashville Super Speedway. The only other time set by Wayne Gross and Jeff Chandler. And they're at least a 10th back as it stands, so a lot of work's got to be done by this field if they want to overtake that private label Team Hype Chevrolet.
Yeah, he's going to be a force to reckon with all season long, coming off that championship, taking the win last week. There is a lot of momentum sitting behind that number 9 machine of Trent Dinkle, but I will say, ever since he made the swap to EPI, and I'm not saying this because I drive their setups all the time, but you saw a major increase by the driver of the number 9 with Trent Dinkle, hands and feet over. Like, he jumped into an EPI set and instantaneously became the top guy around here in the PRL, especially on this Cup Series side. I would love to see if any other open setups came about in the PRL, if he could go into the Xfinity Series or maybe the trucks or wherever setup-wise, and go show what the speed that he has right now, because he's up by 3/100ths of a second over Eric Hogg, which Eric Hogg looks really good here in qualifying. I hope he could take that over to the race.
I was about to mention, of course, being fast on a 1 or a 2 lap pace is nothing like being quick on a 70 or an 80 lap pace, which is what we're going to be seeing throughout the duration of this race. 24 drivers out of the 32 that have registered have set times thus far. Luke Christian will go 10th quick on the boards, improves from 21st spot. So that leaves us with about almost 7/10, now 8/10 of a second, all the way from first back to the 26th position, as James O'Brien puts himself 5th quick on the boards. Abner Acosta goes 6th fast. As we look back to Tristan Callahan, Cronus sits 19th on his second qualifying lap here, seeing what he'll be able to do if he tries to put himself a bit further up around this field. Last checked in, now he's 18th on the board, trying to see if he can't improve that at all. For Tristan Callahan, it'll be across the line, this time by... It'll be a 30.192, so will not be any sort of improvement that time around for Tristan Callahan, slower by a few tenths of a second. And that'll bring us to Eric Papinel, a racer, Terry, that is familiar to those that watch the RSR Cup Series on Monday nights.
Yeah, he is, and catching some speed over here, and this is something that I love about RaceSpot. So a lot of these drivers watch what RaceSpot produces and what we do over here as a commentary team, and they like to join in on the fun. It got me to actually go race in the PRL. I had never heard of the PRL till it came to RaceSpot, but you meet some great people over here, and Eric Papinel is one of those drivers that come over here, had a lot of fun. Ross Cato's been over here a couple times. We've seen a good bit of drivers that have swapped over and ran. And for a lot of these drivers who came into this season that are fairly new-ish to this, Landon Mills joined the season, Rachel Hunt came back, Jeff Winters here, Bradley Moore, TJ Bartel. There is a lot of drivers that have come into this season as new favorites, and that's not how you enter pit road, Matthew, but good on you for trying to get there. But it's good to see new faces in new places. We're used to covering them on one night in the fixed world. Well, they came over here and said, I want to go run some open stuff. And it's a bit of a challenge to run like this and figure out what's the best practices to run open-wise. You could drive that thing deeper than you can anywhere else. As we take a look at our gorgeous driver board up here, it's a lot of beautiful faces on a Sunday night. Except for one. There's just a wheel.
Just a chair in place for that one way over on the far right. But qualifying is complete. We'll be able to take a rundown here of your official starting grid as we get set to go racing here at the Nashville Super Speedway for 150 laps. Trent Dinkle starts on the pole for private label Team Hype, looking to go back-to-back to kick off the season. Eric Hogg for Firestone Motorsport brings it up, lines up beside him on the front row. Abner Acosta will be back in third with Jose Acosta in fourth. Skip Gagnon for the Entourage crew going to be down in fifth on row number 3 alongside James O'Brien, Terry.
You got Maverick Davis back here in 7th, Jeff Chandler, Joshua Daniels, Pat Harvey, Chris Hudson, and Lou Christian back here in the 12th place position.
Waldo Walden going to be back in 13th for the Entourage crew. Rachel Hunt going to be down in 14th place out of Florida. John Jones of Firestone Motorsport going to be in 15th with Wayne Grossi in 16th. Jay McDonald for the Apex crew in 17th with private label Team Hype Black. Bringing it up for Brandon Walter in 18th.
Matthew Campbell 19th. Tristan Callahan 20th. TJ Bartel back there in 21st. Robert Besaw Jr. in the 3 to the outside in 22nd. Tom Amacy in 23rd. And my favorite singer of all time, Colton Easterday in 24th.
Brandon Moore going to be back in 25th spot for Love Racing Black alongside Eric Papineau for the SGE Esports Apex. Jose Medina brings it up in 27th place alongside Troy Torgerson. Mike Whitt brings it up for SGE Esports Ironman alongside Landon Mills.
We're going to round out the field with the final 4 of Charles Sumner for Car Ramrod with Jeff Winter of Mid-South, Brian Dixon from New York, and Richard Pruitt for the Ironman of SGE Esports.
34 cars getting set to go racing. The bottom 5, 30 through 34th, did not set qualifying times. It is about 0.8 of a second from first on back to 29. There was a 29.478 for Trent Dingle's pole lap, a 30.231 for Mike Witt, who will be starting way back in his number 88 Chevrolet down at the bottom end of this field, as the pace car will lead our field away. You can see the track temp on the bottom right there, 81 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty good for a concrete track. These are never tracks you like to have too hot.
Yeah, I was going to point that out, too. I almost interrupted you and said, look at that track temp. It's been hotter than hell on the race sim this week. I raced in a race, and it was miserable. The tires were sliding, the concrete, you could feel the heat coming off of it in your driving style. You would burn the tires up too quick, but it's 81 degrees, and we're going to see the track start to change a little bit. It'll start to settle down, start to cool down quite a bit. Concrete's much different than asphalt. I don't know how many people actually know what asphalt to concrete temperature-wise does. Asphalt, you gain a little bit more grip. When the concrete cools down, oh, baby, the racing gets even better. 2 wide, 3 wide, 4 wide, but Barney's got that green flag ready to go.
Thank you for joining us on RaceSpotTV on this beautiful Sunday night. We get set to go racing for the PRL NASCAR Cup Series race number 2. We're underway here in Lebanon.
Yeah, side-by-side battle right there. Something happened. There's somebody missing, because Abner Acosta is all the way up to second already, and that outside lane with Jose Acosta didn't get going. I'd be curious to look at that restart again and just potentially see what stacked that outside lane up, because I don't know what it was that happened, but Jose was a little bit further up in this field, and now he's sitting on the outside here battling for that 6th place position. Now he's battling for 5th. That was a weird start.
Off came with Air Hog, just not getting going. Is way out to the top shelf. Going to be Joshua Daniels, 3 wide at the back of the field. Trouble in the outside wall. O'Brien goes around in the 33 car. Going to bring out our first yellow flag of the night.
Man, it just looked like a flat hook right there when we got the camera angle. The replay is going to be a better tell of what that was, but driver, you ain't clear. 90% of the time here at Nashville, everybody wants to go up and cut that nose off, because you have to. If you don't make the pass going into the corner or down the back straightaway, you're in for a bad day, because you're going to burn the tires off. You're not going to be able to get the speed off the corner. You have to be able to get the throttle and pick it up at the 3/4 mark in these cars specifically. If you get on the throttle too quick, you lose the back end, and it's very hard to correct them. In the trucks in the Xfinity car, you can kind of be a little bit more generous with it and give it some throttle, because you need to carry so much momentum truck-wise. The Xfinity car, you have to be, dancing with the pedal just a little bit more than what you would think. But in these cars, if you pick it up just an inch or a foot too quick, you're in for a bad day. Here's the restart, or the replay right here. He gets loose and just bobbles all the way up. Nowhere to go.
That's just their classic cold tires on concrete scenario right there. And we mentioned before, a cold track, that's not going to do those tires any sorts of favors. It was already a bit of an opportunistic launch for Daniels around the outside, and unfortunately O'Brien, like you mentioned, right, just kind of bobbled it up the corner, and for there it all condensed up at one place on the racetrack. And, you know, Josh Daniels, nothing he could have done about that one. Shout outs to Luke Christian right behind that deal. I think he just was able to get out of that with minimal damage, a little bit of a ding on the left front of the Bowen Bootwear Chevrolet. But other than that, he's looking to be smooth sailing. He, I think, is going to be still inside the top 10, so that's good news there for the 21. As we remain under this yellow flag for the time being, lights still on aboard the iRacing safety car. Trent Dingle, this is not the caution he wanted. He had himself a phenomenal launch right out of the gate as Eric Hogg just did not get going, and that's what allowed him to pull out that huge gap that's been completely nullified. I think the one saving grace at the moment is the fact that Abner Acosta, his teammate, will be lined up beside him on that front row.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting restart here, because you talked about that with Abner. Abner got an incredible jump, and now we're under caution. Hopefully we can dig that replay back up for the initial start, because I am still lost and curious on how Abner Acosta got to second. Like, where was the checkup? Did he take it 3 wide going into the corner? Like, what did he do to get to second place? Because he was back in 6th. He started P6. Like, how did he get all the way up to second in a lap? Because we came to complete lap 1. He was sitting P2. Jose was way back there fighting for his life against the 31 of Jeff Chandler. It's like, man, how'd you get that good of a run? What happened to Hogg? Like, he was out there on the outside front row. I wanted to know if the speed could contain in this race, but the fire-off speed didn't look like it was there as when he got on the throttle. Just potential. Here we go. So look, Abner was 3rd. He got better on qualifying. Somebody didn't show up. Something happened, because he was a little bit further back than that. That 89 just didn't get going. Now nobody went behind him either. Jose was kept sleeping as well. Good clarification.
I was gonna say, I was wondering if maybe some of those guys on the outside line started 1 gear up and everybody else on the bottom did. That would explain why they weren't able to get away so much. Gearing in particular is going to be an interesting thing to talk about throughout the course of the night as well, because obviously, you know, these Gen 7 cars, they do run a 5-speed gearbox, but we were taking a look, and of course, just pointed out as well a little bit before, some drivers, instead of using that 5th gear here, they're just opting for a high 4th gear setup. Now, that's not entirely uncommon. I mean, at tracks like Martinsville, we even see drivers utilizing the 3rd gear at some points. So I find it interesting then that we're going to be seeing those drivers using that 4th gear. I think we should keep an eye out on that, see which one of those might be the better one. 4th gear, you're going to sacrifice top-end speed, but you're going to be so much better on corner exit with acceleration.
No, and I fully agree. And something to be brought to note, mechanically wise, this race like a short track. This is legit a short track. Continuing to, it's 1 1/3 miles, but you're going so slow in turns 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 as the pace car comes down. We're going to get ready to go back green. But it legit is one of the hardest places to shift. I raced about 20 laps around here yesterday in the next gen car, and it's difficult. It's another great restart there. Trent Tinkle starting in 1st, so Trent's going to be in 1st gear. Once again, Eric Hogg starts in 2nd, what he did on the initial start as well. So it's going to be entertaining to watch throughout the race of who gets the better launch. Obviously, 1st gear is going to give you more torque to the rear tires, but those lower gear setups means you're going to burn a little bit more fuel because you're turning much more RPMs. Your 5th gear people are able to save a little fuel if you build the granny gear in there. It's going to be fun to watch because fuel mileage could come into play here on 1 1/3 miles with 150 laps.
All of this as we hightail it off of turn number 2 to the back straightaway. Dingle already clear by at least 7, all the way back to Abner Acosta, his teammate, as we rocket it back down into turn numbers 3 and 4. Gandy 3rd, Hogg 4th, Acosta rounds out the top 5. We're single file all the way back to about the 10th and 11th positions, where we see Wayne Grossi going side by side with Rachel Hunt. Hunt carrying that outside line. Now, it's more difficult, I think, to carry the outside line on a concrete track like this one, but you can do it. And as Grazi bobbles off the bottom of the Pennzoil Chevrolet, that's going to give Hunt the gap she needed to break up into the top 10.
We can leave it here on the 16. I got an interesting story about me and old Rachel Hunt. So she was practicing with Elliott Sadler Esports for a while. I think she still is. I raced with her one time in an official race, and I won. And I was so proud of myself because she came in as the one truck that I was the most proud I've ever been in my life was winning a race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, beating this young lady right here with a great I rating. Very, very much one of the most talented people in a field that you'll ever get to race with in an official race, and one of the sweetest people too. I beat her on fuel mileage, and without saying a word, I wasn't celebrating or nothing. Instantly queued up on the chat. Good win, Terry. And great teammate over at Martin Sports as well. Been a real big fan of hers. But it's good to see her racing here in the PRL and getting a good top 10 after a bad week last week.
See Colton Easterday working his way down to the bottom of Landon Mills into turn numbers 3 and 4. Easterday working to the bottom line. You mentioned on the gridding phase of this one, Terry, that Easterday, your favorite singer. I have a feeling that's an inside joke or something that I'm not understanding. Is he actually a singer? Does he actually do that?
Yeah, he does musicals, and we try to get him to sing for us, but the only time you catch him sing is when he's side by side like this and he's sliding off the corner. But Landon Mills told me he was going to come to the front here. He's making some passes. He's trying to get up here into that 19th place position and pass Colton Easterday for that spot. But when he gets sideways, he can get that high octave. He's got a lot of, he does. He sings a lot. And we try to get him to come over here and sing with us, but we learned that about 3 seasons ago here in the PRL that he was a singer. Brandon Walter right there in the 99 just bottlenecked the bottom lane up. Colton Easterday almost got in the back end of him. Now it's going to make it a side-by-side battle right here for the 18th position as Mills is going to look to the outside. And here comes 20 of Maverick Davis, and Mills gets clear. Can Maverick in the 20 get clear as the 99 of Walter's having a hard time through the exit of the corner?
Corner exit is always one of the tricky parts when you get to tracks like this and like Dover. It's at least in my experience, I've been racing here, is a bit of a bumper to the back end there of Brandon Walter. Easterday trying to move Walter up and out of the way. Doesn't go anywhere though. As I was mentioning though, at least in my experience when I've raced at tracks on Nashville or Dover, I'm either sliding like I'm on ice on slick tires, or I'm understeering like I've just put blocks on my front tires. There's no in between. So corner exit, always a challenge at concrete tracks like this one.
You got to back in corners up. Something I learned last season in the Xfinity series from guys who, like people who are in the chat with us right now with Nick Hunter. Back the corners up. Don't be afraid to drive the car like you want to. You can be aggressive with the car, just not too aggressive. You see Jose Medina right here in the 23rd position, starting to slide back. That outside lane isn't necessarily progressing to him like you thought, or like he thought that it would. But the interesting part about Nashville is the corners are polar opposites. Turns 1 and 2, you got bumps. You gotta hit the bumps right. You have to be able to get the car to settle, get the car to rotate a little bit before you get on the throttle to exit. Turns 3 and 4, you're going in just a little bit deeper, not too much deeper, but you're able to get in just a little bit deeper and sweep it like Gateway's corner is what I always thought it was. Oh, Colton Easterday is having a slide up there. He's singing now.
Colton Easterday into the infield grass, and again, luckily no splitter physics as of right now in iRacing. He'll rejoin, no caution. Falls all the way back down though to 33rd on the racetrack. So unfortunate there for Easterday. I'm willing to bet just got a bit loose off of turn number 4, as we mentioned here earlier. A problem some of these drivers will be having to manage. We'll look back up to the fight for, I believe, the 4th position here between Eric Hogg and Jose Acosta, working down to turn 1.
Yeah, I was curious on the qualifying speed that Eric Hogg had and Jose Acosta had. And this is something that we're going to talk about for 150 laps around this circuit. The person on the bottom is not going to be able to get the run if the outside does their job. And when I say that, it kind of reminds me of, we're going to talk this in plate racing too when we get there, Atlanta-wise in the Xfinity and the Truck Series side as well. If you pinch the driver to the bottom, you stop their momentum of being able to shift up early to get the run off the exit of the corner. Right here, Eric slides up the racetrack a little bit, gives him about a lane and a half, and now contact's made as they come off the exit of 2. He gave him a little bit of room. Eric gave it to him, and Jose took it. Now, does he do it here? He does. He goes up another lane again. But what does Jose do? Is he going to slide up this track? No, he holds it down, but that scrub speed, that's going to be a big issue that's going to run along here and cause some problems for a lot of these drivers. At the entry of the corner, you have to come in at a late arch if you're on the outside lane and hold that person to the bottom to minimize their drive off the corner. You have to pinch them. Right now, the 89 of Hogg, he's going to be able to keep P3, but 42 of Jose still charging.
Battle for fourth rages on. Jose Acosta not letting this fight go easily. It looks like finally, though, Hogg might be able to get clear. I think this next lap by Jose Acosta just into the quarter panel still as you push it down to turns 1 and 2. Eric Hogg tracking up, has to lift a bit, got a bit out of the groove there, track towards the outside wall. And still just barely enough in there for Acosta that he takes the line away from Hogg. He's not been able to make anything happen, but I think this time by off of 4, Hogg will finally secure P4.
All right, now that battle has settled, take a look at this racetrack right now. We had a sunlight beaten 22 laps ago in qualifying. The sun was out. Look at it now. It might just be my computer, but it looks exactly like what the NASCAR Cup Series looks right now. 2AT with the simulation and the dynamics of iRacing, which, by the way, if you don't have iRacing and you're watching this race, iRacing.com, 40% off new members. The track temp still at 83 degrees. We'll watch that trickle down just a little bit. It'll trickle down, hopefully, till in the mid-70s. It's gonna build some grip into the racetrack. It's gonna build some confidence as well, but it's gonna change how these drivers get off the exit of the corner. We might potentially see them be able to take that second lane just a little bit further. You got sunlight in 3 and 4. 1 and 2 is a little bit more shaded, so you have to drive them a little bit different. That's what I love about iRacing. You never know what you're gonna get.
Track temperature is still remaining relatively unchanged despite the varying degrees of sunlight. It's sitting at 83 degrees Fahrenheit as of right now from the 81 it was at the drop of the initial green flag some 24 and a half laps ago. That's actually raising up as well to 84 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think that sun's still beating down a good bit over there. In turn 3 in particular, of course, shade is being cast over the turn 4, courtesy of those front stretch grandstands.
Look at this shot.
Yeah, that was absolutely incredible there.
Show it off in there to production trailer.
No kidding.
Well, the funniest part is the coldest part of the morning is right when the sun's starting to creep into the distance. Whenever you start to see the sun's the coldest part of the morning. The hottest part of the night, as crazy as it sounds, the hottest part of the day is when the sun's creeping down and it's about to set. So no surprise that the track temp's starting to go up. That's two opposite ends. You can fact check me on it. It is true. I lived it living in the Army quite a bit. You take a look at Chris Hudson right here. He's starting to get a run on the 31 there. This is for the 8th place position. Jeff Chandler's got it. Hudson wants it. And look, he just looks calm all day long. So he's going to get to run in the corner. And look at this. He never left 4th gear. Never left it. So our inside source here showing us that it's still a thing. That's a very high 4th gear. Oh, boy. He got it up to 9,300 RPMs.
Kind of reminds me almost like the late model stocks that were recently put in iRacing a couple of seasons ago, you know, pinging off the chip constantly over on the short track scene. And, you know, a lot of people consider, well, why don't you just raise the gear ratios? Well, there's a reason for that. Yes, it compromises top end speed, but you get such a good drive off the corners that drivers in the 5th gear might be getting, and when they're having to downshift constantly into that 4th gear just to try to get that drive off, as well just makes it can run 4th all the way around. It saves the time of having to put in the clutch and shift it up into that 5th gear. So we'll keep an eye on that as things go along. Trent Dinkle clear now by 1.8 seconds over the course of this field. Abner Acosta about to come under fire, looks like, for that 2nd position. Still has a big train of cars behind the number 5 Chevrolet.
I'm going to tell you right now, from what we're getting in the information chat right here, that 42 is not playing around. Won last year in the season finale at Charlotte. He's looking for third. He's going to go under Skip Gandy. Almost cut out and gave that 8 a little bit of a tap. He was waiting on the door. He got the door. He got the entryway. Is the 89 of Eric Hogg. He's going to give him a little bit of an assistance into turns 3 and 4. Might have pissed that 89 off. He might not be going in there to help him. He might be going in there to send him off into the corner. You just never know. Eric ain't one of those drivers you necessarily want to make that mad. And yeah, I think the 89 wouldn't necessarily care if he got to the back bumper of that 42 and gave him a little bit of a tap and said, hey, look, man, don't clear yourself on my nose again. Like, it's early in the race. We're on lap 30, and you're already willing to throw a slider on me. Pass me clean, and if you get clear of a car length or so, then pass me. Don't clear me, because if I chop your nose next time, you know, who knows? I might just pump you in a wall or something.
So remaining side by side, this is really starting to check a good chunk of this group up here as we work our way through turns 1 and 2. Skip Gandy losing now from the 3rd spot back to 4th.
Oh, he's loose, son.
And now, even up front, Eric Hogg, you see, trying to throw some blocks down the back straightaway to keep drivers from getting that draft down the back straightaway. Luke Christian will make the move into the number 5 position. Skip Gandy now side by side with Pat Harvey. Harvey keeping that number 6-7 pin to the bottom.
Yeah, that eight of Skip Gandy, he's loose on that outside. You saw him bobbling quite a bit, and that it's not necessarily the funnest thing in the world when you're driving around Nashville and you're loose. If you attempt to make a pass when you're loose, that air gets taken right off of that car. He can't get to the bottom. I don't know if he missed the corner right there, but everybody else you've seen it painted that gray, or that, not the gray, they painted the yellow line down there, but not the 8, not a Skip Gandy. He has not been right there holding that bottom, being able to keep it wrapped around here. He's missing it quite a bit. The 43 of Hudson, he gets right down there and gets a great drive off the corner. He's going to make a run on that 8 here for the 7th place position. Everybody else has been able to hit it. Oh, he almost saw that 84. He almost turned to 31.
Oh, the 31 right to the back of the 8. As Jeff Chandler scrambles down to the bottom. They might have just barely nicked the left rear quarter panel as Skip Gandy coming off of turn 4. Track to the bottom, is able to recover though. And now with a great charge on Gandy, is Gandy going to again be pushed up to the outside lane, struggling with understeer as well as oversteer in this deal. The 31 to the inside, really trying to chase after Chris Hudson, who's a few car lengths up the road.
Yeah, it's definitely not a place you want to get pinched up there to the outside, as contact was almost made with, looked like Hogg and looked like Hudson up here fighting side by side. A lot of stuff going on here, but they can't seem to figure out the room that they want to make in this upper echelon of parts. Look at Mills. He's coming up here looking for the 10th place position on Waldo Walden. That 84 is having a good run. The 25 is having a good run, but he's going to need a caution if he wants to make anything happen. He's 5.5 seconds back off of our race leader. He's going to need some type of issue for somebody else to get up there and make a run happen. There's no stages here in the PRL. A lot of these drivers probably wish that there was some stages in here. It looks like Skip trying to cut him off. That's Tristan Callahan. I don't think I want to make him mad either. I'm not sure what that 76 would do. That 8's vicious. He just looks mad. That car just looks angry.
Callahan cut Gandy a huge break on the back straightaway there. Easily could have hooked him up into the outside wall with that pinch there. As that'll allow Callahan to get through now into 11th.
He was just fighting for second, by the way. I don't think we just lost sight of that. He was just fighting for second. He is 12 and falling like a rock.
It's all that tire wear. You know, concrete tracks, they eat tires for breakfast. And in fact, the other concrete track on iRacing, Dover Motor Speedway, they got a monster named after him, Miles the Monster. And I think that's interesting about concrete tracks, like what you mentioned, Terry. You love them or you hate them. I'm personally more on the dislike side to drive, but boy, are they ever entertaining to watch with the strategy game.
Heck no, Nashville's fun to watch, man. It's fun to race on too if you know how to race it. I actually learned how to race Nashville, no shocker, from my Waterback teammates. They taught me how to run this place. Joey Tebbin was a big help running around here too. I was missing the corner. I'd always struggled in Nashville, and Joey gave me some tips and tricks of watching him get around here Wednesday. And I went out and had one of the best races in top split I've ever had. I didn't win it, but I had a good, solid run. I was able to hang up front, was able to kind of figure out the lines that I needed to be a part of. And it's a fun time. If you just sit down and learn the racetrack, you can always have fun here. Dover, I don't want to race at Dover. I don't care what car it is. You can put me in there in a Legends car. I probably still won't like it.
All of this as well, while we're still less than a third of the way into this race. It's a long way to go for the field as a whole here tonight from the Nashville Super Speedway, and already perceived tire is starting to kick in big time. It makes me wonder if potentially we're going to be seeing more tire strategy playing a factor as opposed to fuel strategy like we normally see.
I'm not too sure if the tire strategy is going to play off. I mean, if you were, I'm looking up here at the lap times, and gosh, I love what we're able to do here with the RaceSpot live timing that we have here at our disposal, and the fans who are watching can have the same disposal that we have. It's the same link every time, either it's 1, 2, or 3. You can follow along with us and follow the pit strategies as well. We're 42 laps into this run, about to make it 43. Trent Dinkel's fastest lap time was a 29.886. He is now running 30.428, so he's about it's about 6/10 off of what he was running before. So the fact that 42 laps going on 43, he's only 6/10 off of his pace, is telling me that he has the long game covered, right? Everybody else has fallen off quite a bit. Pat Harvey has fell off to a 30.5. Got a 30.5 for Hudson. Jeff Chandler is staying up there. Luke Christian, he's fallen off big time. Christian, he just ran almost a 31. He ran a 30.991, but he caught Jeff Chandler snapping off the exit of turn 2. That back straightaway was not good for the Abruzzi race at number 31 machine. But Luke Christian here in that 21, he had an off lap. I don't know if he got caught by traffic somewhere, if the nose got taken apart, but right there, 30.754. He's on there on the prowl hunting here, but he's going to have a hard charge in 25 and a hard charge in 31 to that outside, ready to go.
All this battling Christian's doing with Chandler is backing them right up into the Battle Beaver Chevrolet of Landon Mills, sitting just in behind. I think this is going to be all for naught as Chandler able to pull the outside hill clear by the time they get to start finish. And Landon Mills looking to follow him through. Gets to the outside of Blue Christian. Send that one around the outside of 1 and 2. A bit further up than I think he intended on being, though. It's not going to matter. Christian threw it in too deep, couldn't capitalize on the exit speed. And that's going to put Landon Mills now up into the 7th position on the race course. Now the question is, will Waldo Walden make it another spot and start to bump Luke Christian down and out of the top 10?
Well, Luke Christian in that 21, he's starting to struggle just a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see if he was the first one, or if he is the first one to come down pit lane out of our quote-unquote contenders or contending drivers inside this top 10, top 15 frame. But interesting note, I told you this before the race, before we ever got going, is there's the smallest staircase you'll ever see in your entire life, the little 3-rail area that you got, 2 little stubby spots, and then you got a Luke Christian just sitting there. He's going to give the space there for Waldo Walden, the 84, to get below him. He'll go a little bit higher into turns 1 and 2 than he normally would. He'll get a back the corner up just a little bit. He was starting to slide out of the groove. But I said this before we went racing. When Mills messaged me in the 25, he messaged me at about 1 o'clock this afternoon, and I said, I'm telling you right now, I will be a contender tonight. Didn't qualify, which I thought was interesting. I thought, man, he's crazy. He ain't going to be up there running to the front. He's already cracked this top 10. He's already gotten up here. He is going to need a caution. I can't stress this enough. You are 6 seconds back. You're turning 30.5s. You're faster than the race leader on that last lap. but you're gonna need some help. You're gonna need a bunch just filled back up to show the speed that you got in the number 25 machine. But I'm very impressed with the driver sitting in third, Jose Acosta. Like I said, he won at Charlotte. He came into this season a little bit more, just a little bit more confident than he did last season. The brother of Abner. It's a good time to be an Acosta, but it's a really good time to be a Dingle, because you're 1.5 over the field. You're trying to go back-to-back wins, trying to go back-to-back championships. A lot of back-to-backs here for the driver of the 9.
Skip Gandy, one of the first drivers to come on down to pit road for green flag pit stops, and that's an interesting call. Remember, I mentioned this might come down to tire strategy. It looks like that's the case for a few drivers. Waldo Walden is also in, as is Wayne Grossi. Mike Witt is also down to the lane. These guys are going for a 2-stop strategy here, Terry. They're going for the tire game. Take 2 stops, lap 50 and 100, and try to get yourself to the end on the set of tires, as opposed to trying to stretch it out to halfway to make it on the fuel. They're hoping they can, I think, make up some more time over on the racetrack by being considerably faster on fresh rubber than the rest of this field.
I don't know about that. Actually, I think it's a good call. I like it. Look at Waldo Walden right here. This transition to get on pit lane, not the easiest in the world. You got to slow down really hard through 3 and 4, and he barely made that thing without losing it. But like I said, here comes Tristan Callahan from 14th. I'm not 100% sold that this is going to drag the race leaders down. I think the moment Trent, Abner, Jose, I would even say Pat Harvey, Chris Hudson hit, I think then you're going to see a decent shakeup in drivers coming down pit lane. You're not necessarily going to get nervous if somebody from 15th or 16th comes down pit lane. It's Pat Harvey. Here he comes. We'll see if that triggers our race leaders. He's going to come all the way from the 4th place position. Does this drag Trent Dinkle in right now? I think that's Charles Sumner. Almost missed pit lane altogether.
You are correct. That was Charles Sumner, and if this was real-world NASCAR, that would have been a commitment line violation for an unsafe pit entry.
Damn, I'm good.
Past that line. There it is.
Man, I'm good.
Good call. Dinkle into pit road.
Oh,
So
man.
is Easter Day sliding it out on entry. Seeing Christian coming in as well. This is going to really benefit all the drivers that came on down about 2-3 laps ago. They're going to be able to really gap these guys now, or at least really gap into the leaders.
I'm telling you, it's like I do this on a regular basis to understand. Any of you Coke drivers out there want a crew chief, you got one. I'm telling you right now, I got the strategy calls. Abner's probably going to pit. He didn't fall off as hard as Trent did. Trent was starting to run 30.7s, 30.8s. His Mills almost missed his pit lane right there.
Whoa, hello.
99, Brandon Walter goes around. He had to miss the driver right in front of him. He almost went spinning as well. But anybody need a crew chief? I know a guy. He calls PRL racing on Sundays. I think he's free on Tuesdays too. I think his name's Terry. Really good strategy calls, because right there for Trent, he had a really good stop, good time in the box. His box time from lane to lane was 41.2. He had a 14.3 in the box. That was the 3rd fastest pit time we saw for a 4-tire stop this whole race. Actually the fastest. He was the fastest 4-tire stop. So he was 2/10 up on the field 4-tire stop from box to box. I think it was a good time to be the 9 there when everybody started coming up pit lane. Is what I tell you. Here comes Abner. He waited to pit a couple laps down the road. He wasn't falling off as much. And Jose, he's going to pit in either this lap or next lap.
Jose Acosta, Maverick Davis, on TJ Bartel and Jose Medina sitting so far, still between Trent Dinkle and the race lead. Jose Acosta still working his way around the racetrack. As you mentioned before, we see Abner Acosta working his way out of pit road to the number 5 car and gets up in front of TJ Bartel, who is still not yet come down to pit road. I have to wonder if maybe Bartel and others at this point are committed to the 1-stop strategy. As there you go, into pit road is Jose Acosta.
And the crazy part is from our insider source here, Hogg didn't call that he was coming down pit lane. Didn't say it at all. You technically, it's courteous to do it. You don't necessarily have to, but it's courteous to say, hey, I'm pitting. You know, you're not changing your strategy. Nobody else is going to care what you're doing. It's courteous to tell the drivers around you, hey, I'm pitting. It almost checked up our leader here of Trent Dinkle, who is not your race leader right now. TJ Bartel is. But this is your net race leader. Once we go back, regular scheduled programming, barring a caution, I throw that footnote in there that new tires, cold tires. Turn 1 is never your friend on cold tires. If you're Bartel, Winter, Papanow, Hunt, you're going, hey, there's debris in turn 3. You see it. It's raining in 1. Everybody knows it. They want a caution.
Keeping our tabs here on TJ Bartel. There goes Pat Harvey working for the outside line. And I think that right there is a good demonstration of what relatively fresh tires looks like on worn tires here at the Nashville Super Speedway. You saw how quickly Pat Harvey made work of the number 74 based out of all of that. And you can tell right now, you know, TJ Bartel, Winter, Papano, Hunt, they are all committed to a one-stop strategy right around that halfway point. I'm expecting them to come on down around lap 70 to 80, kind of within that range. And we'll see which one's going to come out on top, because they're going to be able to eliminate an entire pit stop as a result of that one if they can make that work on the fuel. But the big question is, are they going to be able to nullify the time that they're going to be losing on a lot of old rubber in taking away that extra stop?
Well, I think the early caution played a lot of factor into this. So Bartel was able to save a little fuel, right? So the average stint is 55 to 57. That early caution allowed a couple drivers to save a little bit more. It allowed drivers to come down pit lane. Jeff Winter, Eric Papanow both pitted on that initial caution. So they're only 57, 58 laps on their tires. While that is still a lot, that gives them that extra little bit of benefit to come out here and put more laps down on this racetrack without having to go pit. Yes, does it potentially eliminate a stop? Maybe. If you stretch both long, you're going to have to be as long as possible on this one in order to set yourself up for that window. But you can save about a lap and a half under caution if you ride it in fifth gear and you're very light on the throttle and try not to use as much brake. Just be very gentle on it. That fuel saving could definitely come into a factor. But if we see a caution, which I'm not speaking this into existence, but if we see a caution, I think everybody's going to come down and pit because, well, you got the tires, use them.
If we end up getting a caution pretty soon here, I'm going to directly quote you saying you're not speaking it into existence. I hope you're aware of this, Terry.
just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there. But I'm a big fan of good strategy. I think everybody who watches the PRL on Sundays or watches this on Wednesdays or any day that I'll come out here and call a PRL race, I love strategy. I played it at Texas. It's the only time I ever led laps in the PRL, which was 14, by the way. I'll put that on my resume next time I look for a job. Hey, I led 14 laps in the PRL. What do you do with your life? Ha ha ha, I'm better than you. But no, you have to play the strategy. To quote Larry McReynolds, if you follow the leader the whole time, you're just going to follow him to the win. Like, they're going to go win. You're going to finish wherever you finished. For the 74, the 30, the 37, the 16, phenomenal. Hope for the caution. It's destined to happen. We're on a concrete track, and drivers are all bunched up right here. The caution can happen, and we got it right here. Hunt's trying to play the strategy too. The strategy game can go. There's 66 laps on their tires and on this stint. Could we do this down and get it rolling? Nolan, this is going to be a fun time to see if anybody can make it to lap 75.
Gandy, from O'Brien, from Hogg, all under a blanket as it stands, running for 16th, 17th, and 18th spot on the racetrack. All three drivers 1 lap down. As it stands, that of course would change once TJ Bartel, Winter Papano, and Rachel Hunt come down to pit road. I think that's at the moment the big thing that's keeping a good half of this field a lap down is the fact that you got to top 4 that we still have yet to pit in the race here. And this one is worth noting as well. Trent Dingle now only 7, make that 6 seconds behind Rachel Hunt, closing in with that fresh rubber. That might be a really big case for going on the 2-car strategy on how much he's been able to reel in on some of these other drivers. Meanwhile, we're going to keep our eyes on this 4-car fight as Maverick Davis starts into the fray. To the inside goes James O'Brien. Skip Gandy, I think, letting him have that one easily. Didn't really fight that at all.
I think Skip's still fighting that car. He burned him up early in that last run. It says the 89. He's going to jump down below as well. I'm not as surprised that Skip's not putting up necessarily a big fight, as Skip has fallen down the running order quite a bit here. And he's all the way back there in the 19th position. And I get it. You know, he was up there in second. He pitted from, 14th? I think it was 14th he pitted from. Not necessarily the night that Skip thought he was going to have. But for a lot of these other drivers right here, they're 5 laps away from pitting. The top 4 coming down pit lane, potentially to run 75 laps on that second stint as well. Interesting note, everybody else could potentially make that strategy too if you do the math. I think Nolan's doing the math right here. If the drivers who pitted, Trent pitted 17 laps ago, right? If you're telling me that these drivers in the front, these top 4, could go 75 laps on their tires and their fuel, why can't Dingle? Why wouldn't he go 75 and get the caution? Because if the caution comes out, this is over. This strategy is null and void for every one of these drivers. And look at here, we're 3 wide, Nolan. If you're telling me these drivers are not listening to them and they're not hearing that they're 3 wide, you're crazy. Because as a driver on iRacing, I care if I'm playing strategy. Hey, what are y'all doing back here in 20th? Hey, what are y'all doing back here in 30th? What are you doing for 10th? Are you side by side? Are you 4 wide, 3 wide? What are you doing? Wreck for me.
I think that's, one of the key factors, right, is the risk that is involved with trying to get yourself on a good run with a 2-stop strategy in a race like this. It's not like road racing where you can realistically have yourself relatively secure on a 2-stop strat. With cautions always not too far away on the oval side of things, a 2-stop strategy is an absolutely enormous gamble, because all it's going to take is one mistimed spin off one of these corners, one little bump to go wrong, and your entire strategy is out the window, and you have now lost all of that time trying to make this work, and you're going to find yourself on the back foot playing defense on strategy for the remainder of this race, which is why it is such an aggressive strategy to try to pull it off. But it's always impresses me then when people are able to pull it off, because it does make for some really entertaining racing. We've seen James O'Brien still fighting out with Maverick Davis. They did bang doors a little bit off of the last corner with Eric Hogg. You just saw as well, TJ Bartle is in pit road.
Yeah, and for Bartle to come down pit lane right there, old Bartel in the 74, if he is able to hold the lead that he held for a long time, because Trent pitted 21 laps ago, and he wasn't even, 9 seconds from him? If he's able to hold that again, the tires should even out by the time Trent gets there, while he is faster. And I'm surprised that the rest of them hadn't pitted either. Winter hadn't pitted, Papanow hadn't pitted, Hunt hadn't pitted. I think they're really hoping for a caution. And if they're going to get one, they're going to need one relatively quick, because it's 80-ish lap fuel-wise. They're going to need it now. They're going to need it in the next 3 to 4 laps. If they don't get it, They're going to have to come down like Rachel Hunt. She's pitting right at this moment. But when you pit right here, you're going to have to come off a pit road, and you're going to have to be fast. You cannot have any issues. Oh, we almost saw it right there over James O'Brien. Oh, man, that's close racing.
You can see looking for the inside is Eric Hogg trying to find a way to get around this battling duo. Well, Brian and Davis have been side by side for several laps now, and they are not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. This is starting to really hold up. You know, the number 89 Mustang here, and I think that's something he's really trying to take into account. Is there an opening where I can try to stick my nose in and make a 2-for-2 pass here on this deal, as Jeff Winter makes his way down the pit road for his first and only stop potentially on the afternoon. Eric Hogg gonna work his way through. We are now past halfway, as we'll try to get ourselves sorted a bit deeper in this race. Now, this is going to be, this I think is going to be critical now, right? How are these one-stop strategies going to pan out? Eric Papineau's the next driver to the lane.
Well, I'm going to be blunt about it. And hopefully I don't get yelled at for being this blunt. You can't come off a pit road and suck. You have to come off a pit road and know that you can't push it too hard. You can't go out and burn the tires off of it. You just can't suck. If you go out here and you suck it up and you're bad and you run bad lap times and you don't hit the corners right, and you burn the right front and you burn the right rear off, your chances of winning are slim and none. And I would love to break out the old Scott Steiner math, but I don't have time. Not enough time in this race to break out the Scott Steiner math, because I'll spend at least 20 laps explaining it, and nobody wants to do that. We'll break that out at Talladega.
We're still seeing these battles shaken up as well, as that's going to be Hudson on the outside of Jose Acosta. Acosta going to be continuing to try to get us with a good run down to turn numbers 3 and 4. And I think Jose Acosta, I think you're right. He still has been a very impressive driver so far all race long. He's been right up near the front of these guys. He's sitting 4.8 seconds as it stands behind the leaders. But look a bit further behind. Landon Mills has closed that gap from 7.5 down to 5.4 seconds. Landon Mills working his way up 25 spots. By far the most spots out of anybody on this grid. He is a serious contender for, at the very least, a podium if this race stays green.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, I don't think he's going to be a contender for the win unless caution comes out. But I think he might potentially go up there and get a second. I mean, his lap time-wise, he's the fastest driver on the racetrack that has not pitted. Or that has pitted, but hadn't pitted, you know, in the latter portion. He's running 30.2s. He pitted 28 laps ago. I mean, yeah, I can go back here and nitpick and say that Maverick was faster, but he pitted 24 laps ago. So I expect those 4-lap tires to be different. You know, there's a 4-lap gap. I expect you to still have a little bit more speed in them. But as the tires age, Landon's faster. He's 4/100ths faster than Abner. He's a 10th faster than the race leader. And I think Trent's saving a little bit. Right? I don't think he's necessarily wanting to go crazy with it. But big shout out for third. And I'm glad that Nick Hunter pointed this out in our Discord chat as well. He is the most improved driver in the shortest time frame across the board. He joined last season. I think that's crazy to think that Jose Acosta joined not long ago, and here he sits sitting P3 running against drivers who have been here for a long time. And he even said Abner's not giving him coaching tips. He's not going out here and going out of his way to train him, as Landon shoots here for the 4th place position on the 43.
Exactly, as he's going to continue his charge up through this field. Landon Mills making that run now for 4th. Back down to turn 1. He'll take that one away. The gap under 5 seconds. I'm going to be honest here, Terry. I think he can catch Dinkel. I'm holding out hope that Landon Mills could potentially make a run at Dinkel's lead here, because he hasn't ever lost any time throughout all of these runs. I think if he could get a good jump on the undercut strategy here for that second stop, maybe around, I don't know, lap 148 or something of that nature, he could put himself in a range where he could possibly catch him with less than 10 to go.
I don't want to doubt him. I don't. But I don't see it. I know it sounds crazy with the pace that he's got. I just haven't seen the 9 turn it on. I think there's a different switch there. Like, he's fast on the short run, but he's only giving so much. I mean, he's losing a tenth to Abner a lap. But I do look at it and I say, is he saving? You know, if we go on board with the 9, I'm almost positive if we went on board with the top 2, there would be 2 totally different areas of slowing. You would have the slow down into 1 where he's probably backing it up 20 feet before anybody else does. Turns 3 and 4, he's probably going 15, 20 feet before anybody else does, trying to conserve those tires and back these corner up so he doesn't slide off the exit. I don't know if Landon is going to put the whole body of work together. He shot himself in the foot when he didn't come down and when he didn't put a qualifying time down, because I think he would have qualified pretty decent.
You have to wonder if Mills wouldn't already have the lead had he put down that qualifying time.
I think he would.
I think so too. I mean, with how fast he's been closing in, I absolutely think he'd be in the lead and running away with it right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think if the 25 would have set that qualifying time, even if he would have been in 5th, I think even if he would have qualified somewhere in the top 5, I think we're talking of a different race. I think we're talking between the 9, the 5, and the 25 fighting for this win, because Abner's closing. He's 0.8 of a second in closing. Now make it 7. 0.7 of a second is going to separate the battle for the race lead here at Nashville Super Speedway. I very loosely say Super Speedway because I would say Nashville Short Track Super Speedway because it's a hybrid. But he's closing every single lap for the past 15 laps. It has been much, much faster. And with 30 minutes pace-wise remaining, big shout out to Nick Hunter. Oh, car in the grass. Oh, that ain't a caution though, damn. I thought we had one. I thought we were gonna get it.
And who was that was down into the infield grass on that deal? I believe that was one of the private limited team hype. It was Colton Easterday that went into the grass with the number 95. And he took that toe to pit road as well. So bench right, no yellow flag, just because that was below the line. But I have a feeling he may have had some help with that deal, because you don't have to find yourself sliding that far down. Here's a look. Find it down with the driver behind, gets loose, and while it wasn't entirely the fault of the car behind, he did get loose. The driver behind him just had nowhere to go.
Yeah, it's happened to me a couple times this week. I can't even lie. I've been all sorts of sideways here in Nashville trying to get aggressive off the exit. I'm not too sure how much this is playing into account. 2 lap pressure tires to this, but we got the best statistician in the world over here with Nick Hunter. That man's got books written to us about how to carry this broadcast. I need one of these people on Wednesday to kind of keep me strung along and focused on the race. But that 5, tire wizardry at its finest with Abner Acosta. Saved him, held on to him. He is 0.2 faster than our race leader, Trent Dinkel. I think if they battle, if Trent fights him hard, man, we're gonna have a good time.
That, I think, is now the big question. Do they fight? They're teammates, and the one that's leading is a defending champion. So how eager is Abner Acosta going to be to try to fight that defending champion who's also your teammate, especially when you know that you have drivers like Landon Mills that are catching you? Is it in his best interest to try and work with Dinkel here? He doesn't think so, because he's going to look to the inside, and that's going to put Abner Acosta through to the race lead. Now, we know Mills was catching Dinkel quite rapidly as the gap shrinks to well under 4 seconds, now almost about 3.5. Now the question is, can he keep that pace up now that Abner Acosta leads the way?
I'll quote the great Beastie Boys on this one, Nolan. No. You got to fight for your right to party. And if you don't fight for your right to party, you're not fighting to win. You're not going to win a championship being a good teammate. Sorry if that makes people mad or uncomfortable. I don't care. You don't win championships. You don't win prizes at the end of the season if you're a good teammate. They don't pass out the good teammate award or the best teammate of the year. No, they pass out an award for winning the championship. They pass out an award for winning the overall season championship as well, that we'll see a little later on in the season for the PRL when we go to wrap up another great year of this series. We don't pass out people who push teammates to wins as pit stops are starting to happen. We talked about lap 50, lap 100. We're in that range again. B-Saw Jr., Gandy, Jay McDonald all come down. Oh, Eric Papin almost got in Waldo Walden.
Right about that point, we're expecting to see a lot of drivers coming on down for their second pit stops of the day. Bradley Moore is into pit road as of right now. McDonald is currently getting tires changed. Robert Besaw Jr. is on his way out of pit road. Gandy is getting another change. So we're again going to enter that section now of how eager are these races going to be to fight it out with one another. As you got a whole host of drivers all under a blanket, and this is a bunch of lead lap traffic as well, trying to get around some slower lap cars at the tail end, right around the 22nd position.
Yeah, my last comment might have made people mad, but I honestly don't care. I think it's a big difference in understanding the racecraft of it and understanding what a lot of the drivers have to deal with. I wasn't the best teammate at Waterback. I'll tell you right now, I wasn't. I cared to be the best teammate, but I didn't care at the same time. The only time I care about being a good teammate is on plate tracks. That's the only time I will be very loyal and dedicated to a teammate. I will race the team as hard as they race me. Granted, I didn't get very many opportunities to go up there and race with my teammates. I raced with a couple of them a little further on back in the pack. But I don't care to go out there and be the best teammate across the board. That's never been my biggest goal, is to be that driver that goes out there and just rolls over. But right there, you have to understand from Trent Dinkel's position, it's hemorrhaging the bleeding. You have to stop the bleeding as much as possible. He got caught by over 2 seconds from Abner Acosta. He had to back it down just a little bit, get out of the way, and go, hey, you're faster. What's better for the team right now is what's better for the race and what's better for our chance to win the team championship, what's better for us to win the overall championship this year. And if they go 1 for 1 and go back-to-back wins for private label team hype, that's what's good for business. And they're in the business of themselves at this moment for private label team hype.
Well, they very much are, and I mean, hey, early in the season, right? So you got to pull. You can't pull your punches where you can get them. It's really critical to be as strong at the start of the season as it is at the end of the season, because the first couple of races will always decide how the rest of the season could pan out. Trent Dinkel going for the undercut. He's into pit road on lap 103, and Acosta stays out for at least one more. And just made that call this time by Adler Acosta pitting in this time through. Dinkel able to file out of his pit stall right in front of Tristan Callahan, who's fresh into pit road. Now again, question is, where's Landon Mills? He's getting nudged on his way into pit road. You see him right at the tail end of the shot, not wanting to be caught out by the undercut.
I'm not surprised. But I'm surprised that Abner pitted. Abner went 2 laps before he pitted with Trent that last pit stop on lap 50. He pitted 1 lap now. So if Trent gets the advantage and he shows that short run speed that he's had in that car all race long, what's that going to do? Right? Is that going to change what we got? As we're going to look at the merge here between the 5 and the 9 off the exit of pit road. We'll see, does the 9 get around? It's going to look like it's going to be awful close of where the 5 and the 9 all level out. 5's going to get it. But like I said, I think it's going to be a weird me a weird little spot that they put themselves in. As he's off the exit of 4. Dinkel's not too far behind him. He's right there in the camera frame in the restart zone. I don't know, man. I think that was a good call, but if I was Trent, I probably would have flipped it and went around and did what Abner did to me, go 2 laps, fresher tires, and just roll with it.
So at this point, you're a bit deeper in this race, right? How eager are you to try to make your run a bit later on? Jose Acosta, Campbell, and Bartel are still on the lead lap. They're the only 3 cars as it stands on the lead lap. When do you come down to pit road for your final stop? Do you come down at all for your final stop? Because remember, Bartel and others, they only made the one-stop strategy.
Well, I tell you, if I'm Bartel, I got a big old grin on my face because the field's a lap down to you. They're a lap down. You're 21 seconds off, so they got to go all the way around this racetrack to pass you multiple times. They're going to pass you again. He was the only one on that strategy call that stayed on the lead lap. Because think about this for a second. Rachel didn't stay on the lead lap. She's 13th, now 12th. So, you know, you look at it this way. He was able to, or she was able to gain a couple spots, but she actually net lost. She was 10th. She was 10th. And now she's sitting here in 12th. If you're Bartel, you had an atrocious run in going into this pit strategy. And now look at you. Now look at where you sit. You're right here running second. You got a chance to lead a bunch of laps to gain that experience of running up front. And if the caution comes out in the next 41 laps, you look like a genius. Like, you look like an absolute genius. We got 21 minutes to go. If we cycle this thing out green to the end, we're going to turn all 150 laps. So this is going to be as entertaining as we could possibly see. I said strategy was going to play a big factor in this. Here we set the driver in second. As though there was smoke off before. When there's smoke, there's normally fire, but not this time. Can the 74 Bartel hold on to win this race? He's got to have some hard charging people around him. He's got to hope traffic catches him up.
Matthew Campbell is, I think, one of the last of the 2-stop runners that has not pitted as of right now. He last stopped back on lap number 55, so we're still waiting to see when Campbell will take his number 27 car down to pit road. I think he's trying to run the tank dry. He's really going for the jump on the fresh tires and just blast with this field at the end. But you got to make sure you don't wait too late for that, right? Because if you wait super late, it doesn't matter how fresh the tires are, you're going to be too far behind to be able to probably make a move, as Wayne Grossi will come down for his second and final stop of the night.
Yeah, and I made this mistake. I made this mistake the other night. And I can speak from the driver's perspective. I'm on the goal to 1,000 laps led on iRacing, and I know if you're in the chat and you laugh at me, I'm going to punch you in the face. Because I don't race as much as most people do. I don't get to sit at home and turn a ton of laps. I work 13 hours a day, plus being a husband, plus being a broadcaster. I do this, I go to racetracks, I have to be a family man as well with the kid on the way. It is so refreshing and such an eager thing for me to try to get is 1,000 laps led. It's a goal of mine, and I want to achieve it at my home racetrack at Nashville. But with that being said, I played the strategy wrong. I went as long as I could go. I ran that thing till I had 1 lap in the tank in the truck. Big mistake, because I was running top 10, Nolan. I was sitting top 10 and top split with a crappy iRating. A crappy driver, but a great setup, right? And you could make any driver look good with a good setup. They made me look good, but I made myself look dumb because I came down pit road 50-plus laps into the run. I only had 22 laps to come back out and attempt to make a run back onto the lead lap. I came close. I came very close. I was right on the tail of the race leader, but it didn't do anything for me because all I did was get back to 16th. I lost 6 spots. So if you wait forever to come down pit lane and figure this out to get 4 fresh tires, you're going to be trapped. You're going to be stuck behind a bunch of traffic. Dirty air's not your friend in this next-gen car. But you got 8 seconds if you're TJ Bartel to get Abner Acosta to stay behind you. You're going to have to hold him up when he gets there. But for Matthew Campbell, I'm pitting like meow. Like, you need to pit today. Right in this moment. Because if you don't, and the caution doesn't come out, you're kind of screwed. You're just going to be sitting there.
I think you're absolutely correct on that one. Again, it makes it very difficult sometimes with these strategists to figure out, what you want to do, right? Because you wait too long, you're screwed. You put it too short, you're just as screwed. It makes me really glad that I get to just sit up here in the booth. I get to call what I see on the track, and I don't have to worry about the headache that must be going on down there right now, figuring out the strategy games day in, day out, and figuring out how it's going to affect the overall championship as well. It's something that is not a very enviable task, and it's one that I think doesn't get enough credit by how much brain work really goes in to the race behind this. Because when it comes to my racing, I've got one strategy: run the tank dry, fill however much you need to get to the end. That's all I end up doing.
Well, I do enjoy, like I said, I do enjoy a good strategy game. I think it's always intriguing to see what others are willing to do. Being a commentator has actually helped me quite a bit strategy-wise, because I see it from 5, 10, 15 different aspects every single week. The drivers are more open with us than what they would be on the racetrack, right? I don't know how many drivers I've sent a message to and said, hey, why did you do it this way? Like, just tell me why you did it this way. Or I'll just simply say on the broadcast, I hope this driver messages me. And I'll get a message. And it'll detail from lap 1 to lap 150, lap 175 of every single part of the race that driver was thinking about, what the tire did, what the track did, what the temperature did. And I take all that and write it down. And I say, well, how can I make myself better with this? How can I learn this car, this track, this way? And I think that's what makes it better as a broadcaster, because you get a lot more stuff. I didn't win a Charlotte race, Nolan, until last season, after I was a fill-in for the Coke 600. The very next day, I jumped on iRacing and I beat drivers in top split at Charlotte on fuel mileage because I paid attention to the fuel strategy in the Coke 600, and it won me a race. So it's a good time. It's a good time. I know it's weird that broadcasters learn stuff during these, but I learned quite a ton.
It is actually amazing how much we can often, learn by just watching how these races pan out. I mean, I had no idea weight jackers were even a thing on certain open wheel cars until I started, calling races of cars that I'm not allowed to mention of. But you learn a lot watching this type of races.
The redacted car.
I think more accurately, the hybrid system that LMP1s, that LMDHs use. That's a system that I learned a lot about watching these races. I learned that the Audi runs off of a partial diesel motor, which is why it's able to kind of function without a hybrid system like the Porsche 919, for example. You learn so much by just taking a look up here in the booth. And of course, these cars, I'm gonna really choose my words carefully here. They're complex in their own right. I think they're not as complex in terms of the in-car adjustments that you can make throughout the course of a race. It's more how you have to adjust your driving style to adapt how the car handles throughout the course of the race. So it's much more about driver skill, I think, when it comes to stock car racing and how it functions. As well as, just the stuff like the track bar, the tire camber, for example, stuff like that as the race goes along. Even pressures as the temperatures change.
Well, and it doesn't affect these cars. But something when we get into an open series, like maybe if we cover the open version of the 600 next year, or if we cover the open version of one of our special events for the NASCAR side of things over the season here on RaceSpotTV, is there are no more tape adjustments in the world of iRacing. That was a change with the latest update that came out. the tape is gone. So your downforce is built into the car at this moment. And in this car, it's built in automatically. The downforce was given to the car for a reason, but I'm very happy that you brought up camber and caster. Car in the wall right there. That was Eric Hogg. He finally caught it off the exit of 2. He's definitely going to have a little bit of an issue there as he scraped the whole right side of that thing up. You can look at it right here. I think it looks like it's got a little bit of a dent in the front. The camber and caster portion of this is going to help you turn quite a bit, especially on a track that it looks flat, doesn't it? When we call it, it looks like it's a very flat racetrack like in New Hampshire. It is 14 degrees of banking. I think that's a big story that we really don't touch when we call a race at Nashville, especially in the open setup side, is the camber and caster allows the car to plane itself into the corner. It helps your turn in, center, and off. You break down each corner into entry, center speed, exit speed. And when you build the setup wise, you want to make sure you put the load on the front end of the car, especially on the driver's side. You want to go a little bit more to the driver's side, so when you go into the corner, when you turn that wheel, it instantaneously rolls perfectly. If you can build the car that gives you good entry, corner, or center, and exit, send it to me. I don't want to pay for it. Just send it to me because I want to drive it. I want to feel what a perfect one feels like in all 3 assets of it, and give it speed down the straightaways. I think it's hard to do, but I think Abner and Trent, they figured something out because they've got really good speed all race long, and Trent's throwing down some heaters.
Just over 20 laps remaining here in race number 2 of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series here at the Nashville Superspeedway in Lebanon, Tennessee. Trent Dinkle still running in that 3rd position. Abner Acosta sitting right behind TJ Bartel. Bartel has been caught pretty significantly now for the race lead, and now you can see Bartel in the same camera shot. I think this might spell an end for Bartel's hopes on trying to go for a race win and potentially even a podium here. He's been caught at a very, very rapid pace these last few laps. That's all the worn tires coming on in. We don't often see 2-tire strategies panning out. It looks like two pit stop strategies, though, was the way to go here tonight.
Yeah, it definitely was. And an interesting note for you for tomorrow night RSR. I won't be there. I'll be at Monday Night Raw here in Savannah with the wife. When you're thinking the fixed setup is the battle for the lead, it is not a battle for the lead. It's your net overall race leader, Abner Acosta, coming back to reclaim his top spot before we went on the pit stops, and Dinkle's not far behind him either. But when you talk about these cars tomorrow night, especially on the fixed side, they drive in 5th gear. You're not going to run 4th. 4th is a very built-in thing that they did with the open setup here this weekend. I went and ran laps in open, and then I ran the laps in fixed. Fixed-wise, if you get in the corner and you're not shifting, it's going to be a lot of shifting. You're going to see a lot of people hitting 5th gear down the back straightaway tomorrow in RSR competition, which is 9 Eastern Standard Time right here on RaceSpotTV. You're going to turn in the corner. If you don't shift properly and you don't shift it to slow the motor down, it's going to set you up the racetrack. If you shift too late into the corner, you'll hit the bumps in one. It'll wash you up the racetrack. There's going to be a lot of things you want to watch out for tomorrow night, because the backing of the corners, just backing them up a foot, 2 feet, it's going to spell some trouble for a lot of people.
We go on board here with Jose Acosta as he gets by TJ Bartel to knock Bartel off of the podium. I think that's a good point as well. It's not just about acceleration, while you might want to have an all 4th gear setup. It's also about getting it slowed down into a corner, using that motor to kind of slow the car down, to help the back end rotate that little bit more. It's a luxury that, like you mentioned, the racers tomorrow night are not going to have. So a lot of guys like Landon Mills, they're going to be looking to take full advantage of that here in this one. And Landon Mills, the gap is down to 2.8 seconds for the race lead, but it has really stagnated as of late in his efforts to try to chase after Abner Acosta.
Yeah, and his pit stop time wasn't awful. I mean, he lost about a 10th. Then he lost 3/10. So he lost a total of 4/10 of a second on pit lane compared to the race leader in the 5. Not a big difference, but it's a big difference on the track. I mean, that 4/10 of a second on pit lane is about forever, it seems like, on the racing surface. And when you go to make a pass, I mean, he's going to get a top 5, and it's almost for certain here at this moment is the top 5 idea is there, is he's going to get around Bartel pretty easily. The 98 along with the 74 Bartel is hoping for a caution. I think everybody will come down pit lane as the battle for second heats up. Jose Acosta trying to make it an Acosta 1-2 finish, similar to what we saw at Charlotte, except it was Jose winning instead of Abner. It'll be interesting to see. They're not teammates. Thought I'd throw that out there. Not teammates. So can the 42 get around the 9? Is he going to be friendly to this Acosta? Doesn't look like he is, as he's playing defense down the back straightaway. Big defense.
Oh, Dingle just chopping the nose of Jose Acosta there down to turn number 3. Acosta, though, with a great drive up at turn 4, trying to chase him down to the apron. Oh, they make contact right in the tri-oval at start-finish. Trent Dingle maintains his momentum in second place as they'll break apart. Jose Acosta trying to go for the wider over-under arc. A bob over Dingle, that time by off of 2. Here comes Jose Acosta to the inside. He'll take away second.
Oof, that got hairy for a second. More contact. I don't think Trent, not too sure if Trent was a big fan of that. They got real close. Trent's playing defense even more. That was hard defense there with Hudson. And a lot of lose your breath moment right there when the 9, the 42, the 43, all wanting to stack up right here, fighting real hard for this second place position. I know this is going to sound crazy, but you're thinking points. You're thinking points in race 2. You're not always just thinking wins. You're thinking what's the best points position that I can potentially put out early on in the season, because next week is an unknown. You might not get any points next week at Chicago Street Course. You could wreck lap 1. It is a 90-degree turn. It's all in order. 90-degree turns next week. You got to get it right now, and right now the 42, he's starting to close in. You see that time delta starting to come down ever so slightly, with the 5 starting to catch traffic with about 10 laps to go. Look at this replay. Oh, almost wrecked the 9 and the 42.
That was an aggressive lunge there that Dingle had taken into turn 3 to make that happen, as now Trent Dingle finding himself under fire again from Chris Hudson and Matthew Campbell sitting just behind as well. Campbell trying to just unlap himself at this point in time, not in this fight for a position at all. As this time around, it'll be 10 laps left to go from Nashville Super Speedway. Time is quickly running out. The one thing Abner Acosta does not want to see right now is a caution. Jose Acosta, that's all he wants to see. He closed in, though, half a second that last time by for your race leader.
Man, I don't think any of them want to see a caution at this moment, because if you think about this for a second, let's compare and contrast just for a second over the top 2 leaders. If you're Abner, you don't want to see a caution flag. If you're Jose, I dang sure don't want to see a caution flag, because you're catching it. You're catching it because of traffic. As you take a look right here at Chris Hudson, oh, got loose off the corner. Trying to make the run. There's Rachel Hunt. She's up there in front. I wouldn't go up top, Chris. You're going to get trapped there. Gonna see if he can get this sweeping arch through the corner. He's on the back bumper, side by side there for that 3rd place position. Chris is there. Trent comes down, but he ain't gonna be able to make this work. The 9's gonna be able to hold this off. He's gonna get stuck to the outside with the 43 to the bottom. That SG Esports machine, that 43, he looks good, but he got loose off the exit of 4.
Still side by side down to turn numbers 3 and 4. Dingle trying to pinch as he bobbles again up towards the outside wall, but still hangs on. Trent Dingle still going to take out that 3rd position. Here comes Chris Hudson back down to the bottom. Can he try to take this one away in 1 and 2? Down the back straightaway, Dingle towards the outside wall again. Here we go, 3 wide. Landon Mills going for a podium. That's going to allow Dingle to pull clear the both of them. Mills with a sneak attack going for 4.
Man, if you want to talk about a hard-nosed race, you're looking at it right there in 3rd. You're looking at it right there in 4th. You're looking at it right there in 5th. These drivers right here will put it all on the line for a top 3 finish. They definitely put it on for a win, too. That's what I love about the PRL. These drivers don't give a blank, and that's for certain. They're sideways, putting fenders on each other. They're not afraid to get dirty in a race. They're able to go up here and have fun. But at 25, I think he's in for a fight. These are 2 drivers right here. Both are hot-headed. I'll say that honestly because I know both of them. They'll both hopefully smile and appreciate it. Landon's a bit of a hothead. So is Trent Dinkle. I think you see it. Chris is a little bit more reserved. He's not necessarily going to come out of nowhere and put a bumper to nobody. He's a little bit more calm and relaxed. But that 25 and that 9, oh, if they get to tangling right here, it's going to be a season long of just getting punted. Oh,
Landon Mills to the bottom, takes up the apron.
He's there.
Come up doors. Dingle running down with 4 to go into turns 1 and 2. A caution now puts us into overtime. Dingle lunging it around the outside, struggling on old tires, but still putting up one heck of a fight for that final podium position, while Landon Mills still thunders down to the inside of turn numbers 3 and 4. He's there, but here comes Hudson trying to make a move.
He's loose. Oh, he's so loose. That 25 was loose on the bottom. The 43 got to the back bumper, and it almost took the entire air off of that rear diffuser for that 25 of Landon Mills. I told you. The 9, he doesn't care. He's going to race you as hard as he possibly can. There it was. He raced the tires off of it. Now he's going to come up and block that 43 of Hudson. Hudson's going to pinch him down. You take the air off of it, you make the back end looser. Trent will race you until the tires are on fire. He doesn't give 2 craps what you think about him. That's a hard-nosed racer, and that's what you want as a team owner. That's what you want as a setup builder, is a driver that races that hard. If I was to start a team tomorrow, I would call Abner Acosta and Trent Dinkle simultaneously. Would be the first 2 people I called.
We work our way in towards turn numbers 3 and 4 for the second to last time. Contact again as Dingle's going to recover. Chris Hudson secures 4th. We take the white flag. Dingle, I think, will have to settle for a 5th place finish here in this deal. Meanwhile, Abner Acosta clear by just under a second through turns 1 and 2. Down the back straightaway, he'll work to the inside and lap skip Gandy, putting the number 18 that started all the way up in the top 5 down a lap. And on to turn numbers 3 and 4, it'll be Abner Acosta taking it for private label Team Hypes Racing's 2nd win in a row as Acosta wins in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Holy mackerel, man. What a race. And like I said, if you go back and you look at the history books, who's the drivers that get shots and gets opportunities, whether it's in iRacing, whether it's in real life, or whether it's in your local short track, it does not matter what level of racing that you want to talk about. The people who get opportunities are drivers who are not afraid to put 120% into that car at all times. And you just saw the winner. He does that, but he's conservative about it. He's able to be very calm about how Abner approaches these races. But you go back there to Trent, he puts it out there. Mills getting a good 3rd place finish. He's one of those drivers as well. A very big mixed bag of driver styles and skills inside this top 10, and it has provided an amazing race.
It very much has, and as Abner Acosta burns it down to the front straightaway, be able to take a rundown of your post-race results after an absolute thriller of the Nashville Super Speedway. At the end of it all, it is Abner Acosta to take up the race win. Jose Acosta will be bringing it up in that 2nd position. Landon Mills, the most spots gained by far, 30th after not qualifying, all the way up to 3rd place plus 27 for the number 25. Chris Hudson will be in 4th with Trent Dingle Rounding out the top 5, TJ Bartel on the one-stop strategy does manage to make up a 6th place finish, so impressive run for the 74. Pat Harvey will be in 7th with Maverick Davis in 8th. James O'Brien was 9th. Luke Christian rounds out the top 10.
Go back here to Waldo Walden in 11th with Robert Besaw Jr. with a great finish there in 12th. Jeff Winter on that one-stop strategy. Tristan Callahan, Eric Papinal, Brandon Walter, Eric Hagg, who had a good qualifying, couldn't translate it to the race. Skip Gandy fell back late. Charles Sumner was hoping for a caution. And Matthew Campbell, who pitted late, comes home 20th.
21st going to be Rachel Hunt along with Troy Torgerson. It'll be John Jones in 23rd, Wayne Grossi 24th, Tom Rossi in 25th with Jay McDonald in 26th, all finishing 1 lap down. 2 down was Josh Daniels and Jeff Chandler. Jose Medina in 29th. Brandon Moore rounds out the top 30 with Mike Witt, Brian Dixon, Colton Easterday, and Richard Pruitt. Rounding out the 34-car field, Pruitt only running 15 laps total throughout the duration of the race tonight. What a night that we've had so far here for us. This one, Terry, we're going to be able to get a chat with some of our podium drivers. You're standing by with our 3rd place runner, Landon Mills.
Man, Landon, why didn't you qualify? I'll start with that.
I'm kicking myself about that. I got a lot of questions of where that race would have gone if I didn't start 8 seconds behind the pack on the 8 ball there, and being able to cut it down to 3.5 from the race lead, I'll take that. But no, I guess kind of getting a feel for the series, come through the pack. I tell you, damn certain I didn't anticipate it going pretty much flag to flag. That's what it felt like. So it was just pretty much an endurance race. But no, it was fantastic. Car turned out a little tighter than I wanted it to be, but yeah, there at the end just saved my stuff. And I guess seeing where Jose almost got him, I feel like I could have gone a little bit longer. But no, I definitely wish I qualified, and if I did, who knows, maybe I would have came out on top.
Well, we set up here on the broadcast side of things. I said, man, if Landon would have qualified just inside the top 10, I think you probably would have went up there and got the win. I was almost 100% positive that we potentially would have seen you getting that race win here this afternoon and maybe fighting up there with the 5 and the 9. But talk about that fight with that 9 car for a second for the top 3 in the podium position. You two got a little racy there. He blocked you a lot down the back straightaway. You wasn't afraid to sail it back in there too with him. Any beef?
Yeah. I don't have anything with it. I'm not a big fan of getting blocked down to the grass, let's put it that way. But just subtly give him a nudge. And in turn 1, he was wrecking loose off of every corner, and eventually it was inevitable I'd get by him. But not going to turn anybody, not going to block him, that's for certain. Maybe a bumper here and there. It's racing with 3 or 2 laps to go. That's what it's all for. So I got nothing wrong with it. I got no issue with it. I got a love tap after the race, so that's whatever. But no, I mean, I tracked him down from a good 2 seconds back and tried to race it as clean as possible going for that. So somebody like him is somebody who I look up to and respect in the series, and being how dominant he is and seeing him coming out on top, it felt good to put the 25 car out in front of him and get a 3rd place finish, especially considering starting from the back, and just showed a lot of speed. So like I said, phenomenal day. Really proud of the 25 Battle Beaver Chevy. It was really fast. Put a good little, took a good practice session beforehand, and just worked on it a little bit this week, and it showed. But hopefully in the future we can have more great battles like this and great races like this, and hopefully I'll be up in the mix for the whole race and hopefully try to grab a win here. So
well, I'll let you go, Landon. Congrats on that P3 finishing position. I'll let you go catch the last couple laps of the NASCAR Cup Series at Nashville.
Hey, I have that on record, so I'm not
going to tell you. I ain't telling you nothing. I'm just going to say go catch it.
I will. I'll enjoy it.
See you, man.
See you, Terry. Thank you.
That's P3 Landon Mills, Nolan, and let's grab our winner, Abner Acosta. I think he's ready to celebrate too.
Abner Acosta joins us up in the broadcast booth. It is the 2nd private label Team Hype Racing win in a row here, Abner. But this time, it was not your teammate Trent Dingle. It was you in the number 5 to take up victory lane. Walk us through how these 150 laps went down from your perspective.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, it was pretty tough. Got led. It went all green and just pretty much just save tires, and I was just able to get to the front. My brother was catching me there at the end, a little scary, but yeah, I was able to hold on and get the win.
Of course, it came down to the tire strategy here in this one, and boy, while Trent Dingle ran away with it early on, you were really catching up in that second run. Was that all down to the tires there? How were you thinking it was going to go down once you actually caught up to him?
Yeah, it's definitely the tires. I saw him; he was struggling off the corners, and I did take it like first half of every stint. I did take it like slow, and it just pushed the second half. So yeah, I don't think he was able to he would have been able to kind of hold me off. I think I was much faster at the very end of the stint. So yeah, it just all came down to tires and just saving them.
Obviously, this is going to be great news for you and your bid to go after the championship. You entered this race second to the points to your teammate, and with this one, you're going to put yourself effectively right up there once again with Trent Dingle. Do you reckon you'll be able to keep this momentum through and try to overtake him in the points lead coming into Chicago?
We'll see. As this has been my first win in a long time. I don't think I won a race last season, so Trent has been super strong in road courses, the best in the league so far. So we'll see what happens. We'll definitely, like I said last week, we'll definitely have to beat him in the road courses, I think, to win the championship. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, eagerly await then what next week will bring. For now, thanks for joining us up here, Abner. Congratulations on the hard-earned race win. We'll wish you the best of luck next week at the road course.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
It's Abner Acosta joining us up here from Victory Lane. We'll move down to our second place finisher. It is Jose Acosta standing by with Terry Radford.
Jose, what's going on, man? You finished second.
Yes, I did. I'm surprised.
What are you surprised for, man? You ran good at Charlotte. You won the dang thing. You come to a racetrack that's virtually similar to that place at Nashville, just concrete to asphalt. Who cares? And you get a second. You were chasing down Abner. I thought you'd have had him with probably about 5 more laps to go.
Man, I think it was like 4 laps to go. Somebody spun in front of me and hit the wall and almost tagged me, and I had to slow down. I think if that didn't happen, I don't know. I probably had a shot on the last lap.
Yeah, we didn't catch it, but Mike Witt, we saw it. We saw it in our chat pop up that Mike Witt snapped loose, and you lost a lot of time there. But you got it back down to 6/10. So you lost 4/10. You gained the 4/10 back. I think you'd have been right there on the bumper. Would you have moved the old Abner Acosta to get this win?
Listen, I know. in Charlotte, I know he would have moved me. He probably would, give me a little bit of rub. So I don't know. I mean, it depends, I guess, the situation. I mean, I'm not gonna go that hard, but with Trent, it was surprising. I thought he was, gonna let me by, but I had a little fight with Trent too. So we almost got together and wrecked, and hopefully that didn't happen.
I love it when somebody starts with listen. When I said, hey, what do we got? Well, are you going to wreck them or are you going to move them out of the way? And you just start with listen. I might have, but we'll see down the road. We go to Chicago Street Course next week. A lot of unknowns. Your road skills play dividends last week at Sonoma. What are you thinking about the street course there? First time for NASCAR to do it. First time for the next-gen car to be on a road course like that with a lot of 90-degree turns. Can you go out there and compete with a Dinkle, with your brother Abner, and a lot of these other drivers that might fare better? And I don't know that ain't a word. More better on the road courses.
I don't think so. I had 2 weeks before Sonoma to practice, so that gave me kind of like a head start for the race. And oh my God, I actually tested. When was it? 2 days ago. I just hope there's not a blockade, because it looks like somebody wrecked. There's no visibility. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody wrecked next to the other turn. Nobody's gonna see that. So I just hope that I avoid all that and do my practice again, trying to, test a lot, and hopefully I get to finish the race.
If you want to move in chicane, I'll come jump in a practice session with you. I'm sure I'll be wrecking around a lot of the corners. But Jose, we'll see you next week. Hopefully you get another top 3 finish. We get to talk to you. Congrats on second here tonight. Hope you have a good rest of your week, man.
Thank you.
That's Jose Acosta, P2 here tonight, but number 1 in all your hearts worldwide, Nolan.
And that will then take us to what our thoughts will be for next week. Obviously, it's a very challenging racetrack right here. We were mentioning it before. It is unlike anything that has been seen before on a NASCAR calendar, the Chicago Street Circuit. It's going to be this track's, the NASCAR version of Long Beach, I think is safe to say. You mentioned a lot of 90-degree corners. There is that one off-camber section, though, right around the fountain. I think that's going to be a huge trouble spot coming on over into the next week. What do you think we'll be able to expect to see from our first street circuit ever in the PRL NASCAR Cup Series?
A lot of wrecking. I'll say it honestly, there'll be a lot of wrecking through the entire week. Not a lot of people's going to do officials this week. And I know that sounds crazy, but don't let this deter you. If you're watching right now and you watch us later, we're on demand all the time on RaceSpotTV on YouTube. iRacing.com, 40% off. Come race the street circuit. Get better at it. I'm going to put a lot of practice in the sim this week. At the little time that I get, I'll utilize it on iRacing. But what a win here at Nashville for Abner Acosta. Solidifies that he's a championship contender. He should have taken the points lead with this run as well. But he didn't set the fastest time, though. Nobody got max points because Brian Dixon did that. But huge win for the 5 Machine of Private Label Team Hype.
He's going to put himself up as a championship contender, and he's going to be looking to see if he'll be the one to dethrone his teammate. Whether he'll be able to keep the momentum up into next week, there's only one way to find out, is to tune in. Same time, same place. I've been Ramble with Terry Rabb from Simon in the broadcast booth. You've been watching the PRL NASCAR Cup Series on RaceSpotTV. We'll see you all next week in Chicago.